Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how Sceptre can manage a CloudFormation template that requires parameters. So in this tutorial, I have prepared a CloudFormation template that will deploy a VPC, and then it takes two parameters. One is the VPC name, and the other one is the VPC CIDR block. So these two parameters will be used to define the value for the CIDR block of the VPC and the name of the VPC, which will be defined in a tag with a key name, and the value of the parameter will go to the value section of that tag. Now, traditionally, if you want to use this parameter, if you want to use, we want to deploy this CloudFormation template, you would do it through the AWS console, upload it, and then define the value for the parameters interactively in the web console. Or if you are familiar with the AWS CLI, you would issue a command like this. So the command is AWS CloudFormation create stack, and then define the stack name, and then template body pointing to the template file, which is this file, and then you need to specify the parameters by providing the arguments parameters, test parameters, and then the parameter key VPC name. VPC name will be the value for this parameter. The value will be my new VPC, and then parameter key VPC CIDR block, which is for this parameter, and the value will be 10.255.248.0/21 in this example. So let me hit enter and go to the AWS console. So this is the AWS console that will have that stack. As you can see, the stack is now being created. As we monitor the events, it will progress to create it eventually in a few seconds. Yeah, create complete. Now we go to the VPC console. We will see that VPC has been created with that name, my new VPC, and the CIDR block 10.255.248.0/21. Yep, and then if we want to update the value, for example, we want to update the name of that VPC to my updated VPC, we're going to issue another command. This time it's AWS CloudFormation update stack instead of create stack. Update stack. I'm specifying the same stack name, and then telling AWS CloudFormation to use the previous template because we only want to update the parameters. So dash use previous template, dash parameters. This time we're going to specify a new value for VPC name. So that's the new value, my updated VPC instead of my new VPC. And we keep the previous value for VPC CIDR block 10.255.248.0/21. So we hit enter on this one and go back to the AWS console, CloudFormation. This time it's being updated, update complete. So we go back to the VPC. That's the previous value, my new VPC. This will change to my updated VPC. Yeah, and same CIDR block. So that means if we want to update the value for the parameters, then we need to keep changing the values for this one. And then let's delete this stack by issuing the command AWS CloudFormation delete stack, specifying the stack name as Sceptre tutorial-EC2VPC. Should be deleted in a few seconds. Let's go back to the CloudFormation console. Yeah, it is completed. It is deleted. Let's refresh the VPC. It's gone. Okay. If we go back to the Visual Studio Code, this time we're going to deploy the same stack, but this time using Sceptre. So as the previous tutorial, we need to specify a config for that stack. And then in that config, we need to have the minimum of template that's pointing to the template file. And then since that template requires some parameters, we supply the value for those parameters. So VPC name will be used for this parameter, and the value will be my new VPC, and then VPC CIDR block will be used to supply the value for this one, and the value will be 10.255.248.0/21. So to to deploy this stack, we issue the command sceptre create ec2 vpc.yaml because the config name is ec2 vpc.yaml, not ec2-vpc. That's the template file. Now, if I just hit enter, Sceptre will prompt for confirmation. I don't want to be prompted too many times, so I'll just issue -y to skip the prompt. Okay, now let's go back to the AWS console. This should show that the stack is being created. Yes, it's exactly the same thing. Parameters is my new VPC. Yeah, it's already created. Now we will go back to the VPC. It is created now with my new VPC. Okay. If we go back to Visual Studio Code and then reissue the same command, it will complain that the stack already exists. Now, I want to update the VPC name to my updated VPC just like before. So I just update the value for the parameter, save, and then reissue the command. It still complains about the stack already exists. So I need to change the command to update, sceptre update -y. This time it is actually trying to update the stack. So let's go back to Davis console, refresh this. Oh, it's so quick, it's already completed. So if you go back to VPC, this name should change to my updated VPC. Refresh, yeah, it's changed to my updated VPC. Yeah, and then if we go back to the Visual Studio Code, as you can see, the value is now stored in the config YAML. Now that's different compared to if we supply the parameters in the command line like this with AWS CLI. So in order to keep the values consistent, you need to somehow store the values for the parameters in another file, which requires you to write a script in your own choice of shell scripting, whether it's Bash or PowerShell. With Sceptre, you just need to define those values in YAML like this and issue the command sceptre create or sceptre update. Now another trick that you can use is instead of determining if it's created, the stack is already created or not, you don't have to specify create or update. You can just issue the command launch. So first, let's delete the stack and then confirm in AWS console that it is deleted. Yeah, it is already deleted. VPC should be gone now. Okay, now let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and this time we know that the stack doesn't exist, so instead of issuing the command sceptre create or sceptre launch, we just want to make sure that the stack is deployed, so we issue the command sceptre launch. Yeah, it is creating the stack. Let's go back to AWS console, refresh this. It is now being created. Let's wait a few more seconds. It is completed. Now let's check the VPC. It is created with the name my updated VPC. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the Visual Studio Code. Let's see if we can update it by changing the VPC name to my updated VPC again. Save it and rerun the command sceptre launch because we don't care if the state is deleted or exists. Yeah, it is automatically trying to update the stack. So let's go back to the AWS console, go back to CloudFormation stack, refresh. It is already updated. Let's go back to VPC and refresh this. This name should change to my updated VPC again. Yes, it is updated. So as you can see, that command launch doesn't exist in AWS CLI, but exists in Sceptre, which you can utilize if you want to, for example, integrate this in a CI/CD environment. And then as usual, we can delete the stack by issuing the command sceptre delete -y to skip the prompt. Let's run this, delete, and there you go. The stack is deleted. I hope you learned something from this tutorial. Thank you.